now we're at the time where the Hamashiach is getting ready to come.
And hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I am the Lord.
Last words, brother.
Shalom, shalom, ma.
All right.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. All right. Shabbat shalom, Yasharel. Shabbat shalom. Pray that everybody's having a blessed Shabbat.
God, all praise to the Most High, man. Can you see everybody? I can see everybody. All right, there we go.
Yep, they already got the. I think they already got a one. Yep, I already see the ones in the comments, so they can hear us loud and clear. Man, hey, y'all, man. I thank the Most High, man, for this holy day.
That's right.
All
man.
praise to the Most High, even all glory and praises to the Most High. You know, it's nothing like it. You know, nothing like the Shabbat, and you know, we have a very special, you know, gift that is given unto us. You know, and a covenant that was given to us. A birthright that, man, only if our people knew, they wouldn't be deceived.
God.
All right, so we're gonna be we're gonna do our scripture reading of Jubilees 50, but the title, of course, is the Prophetic Timeline: Enoch's Legendary Dream Revealed, Part 2. So last week we did Part 1, and you know we covered all the way from the beginning to the creation, all the way to the Nephilims, and we're going to pick up from the Nephilims, and it's going to go all the way to we're going to go all the way to the beginning of the 12 tribes, and we're going to stop there and then pick up again next week with Part 3. It's a lot. It is a lot, so it's a lot to cover and everything. But be patient with us because we got a lot of good comparisons and scriptures and precepts upon precepts that we're going to really get into. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into our scripture reading.
That's right. All right. You want to start out first, brother?
I can. All right. Start with verse 6. Reading the first 4, right?
Yep.
All right. Give everybody a second to get there. Coming from the book of Jubilees, chapter 50. And we're going to start with verse 6. All right, let's get it. And behold, the commandments regarding the Shabbats, I have written them down for thee, and all the judgments of its law. 6 days shalt thou labor, but on the 7th day is the Shabbat of the Lord your God. In it ye shall do no manner of work, ye and your sons and your men servants and your maid servants and all your cattle, and that sojourn also is with you. And the man that does any work on it shall die. Whoever desecrates that day, whoever lies with his wife, or whoever says he will do something on it, that will set out on a journey thereon in regard to any buying or selling, and whoever draws water thereon which he had not prepared for himself on the 6th day, and whoso takes up any burden to carry it out of the tent or out of his house shall die. I mean, that's a serious thing.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 9. And ye shall do no work whatever on the Shabbat day, save what ye have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day. So as to eat, drink, and rest. So in other words, everything that you were going to cook should have been cooked on the 6th day. And that way all you got to do is just take it out.
That's
and
right.
Eat the baby.
Or whatever.
You know? Yep. And rest and keep Shabbat from all work on the day. And bless the Lord your God, who has given you a day of festival and a holy day and a day of holy kingdom for all Israel, in this day among their days forever.
All right. Verse 10, it says, for great is the honor which the Lord has given to Israel, but they should eat and drink and be satisfied on this festival day. That's something we need to understand too. It's a great honor to be able to celebrate the Shabbat, right? This is nothing that, you know, the Lord, you know, sort of said that we're supposed to do, but this right up here with the, you know, like they say, the big 10 commandments, right? If it says thou shalt not murder, right, or don't commit adultery, right under there too is you got to keep the Shabbat.
Fact.
It's a serious thing, right? It says, and rest thereon from all labor, right, belonging to the labors of the children of men, save, you know, we can burn some frankincense and bringing oblations and sacrifices before the Lord of days and for Sabbaths. Now, since the Most High sent His Son to die for our sins, right, so we can repent and get the kingdom, right? We don't have to bring any sacrifices anymore or oblations, right? But you can all day you can burn frankincense and myrrh and things of that nature in your household, right? Verse 11. This work alone shall be done on the Sabbath days in the sanctuary of the Lord your God, which is now would be our houses, supposed to be the holy places, right? Where the church dwell, that they may atone for Israel with sacrifice continually from day to day for a memorial well pleasing before the Lord, and that He may receive them always from day to day according as thou hast been commanded. So a good idea. One of the main things I do like to open up the Shabbat with is a prayer, a good blow of the horn. And one of the prayers I like to pray is the Lord's Prayer, right? It has everything in there, everything about looking out for your brother, making sure that he strays away from wickedness, that the Lord forgives our sins as a people, as a whole, right? And that's very important, also as personal, and that the Lord would keep us away from wickedness and all of those things, right? So that the Lord's Prayer is really a good prayer for you to begin or open up the Sabbath with, right? Or you just take a time and then you make up, you write one down that's real serious with the Lord. Like the Lord is not with like mediocre prayers, or you just saying something just to say it, right? It says this work alone shall be done on the Sabbath days in the sanctuary of the Lord your God, that may atone for Israel with sacrifice continually from day to day for a memorial well pleasing before the Lord, and that He may receive them always from day to day according as thou hast been commanded. And every man who does any work thereon, right, or goes on a journey or tills his farm, whether it's in his house or any other place, or any other place, even in the land of the heathens, right? Or wherever lights a fire or rides on any beast, like lights a fire, that means for is like if you're out there cooking, because there's a lot of preparation that you have to do to cook meat, especially back in the day, because we weren't allowed to eat any blood, right? Because the blood is the soul, right? So the scriptures say, whoever lights a fire, right, or rides on any beast, right, or travels by ship, on a sea, or whoever strikes or kills anything or slaughters a beast or a bird, or whoever catches an animal or a bird or a fish, or whoever fasts or makes war on the Shabbats, right? Because the Shabbat is a time of rest. All those things should be far from our mind. Like, we're not out here concentrating on catching fish or doing anything like that, right? I don't know. Maybe a catch and release might be okay, but I don't know, right? I wouldn't do it if I wasn't sure. Verse 13. Right, let me pull this up. Slakia. Last scripture, and it says, the man who does any of these things on the Shabbat shall die, right? So that the commandments of the children of Israel shall observe the Sabbath according to the commandments regarding the Sabbaths of the land, as it is written on the tablets. He which gave unto my hands that I should write out for thee the laws of the seasons, and the seasons according to the divisions of the days. Herewith is completed the account of the division of days. All right, so it's very important that we all keep the Shabbat holy, every Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. This will be a good practice for us, for those that plan to make the wilderness, right? Or plan to make the kingdom, because we're gonna have to do this anyway, in one way or other.
That's right, and that's a profound statement, because when we practice these righteous acts, it makes it a lot easier for us too in the future, especially if we're alive when we do see the wilderness. Because if you look at how Satan has turned, it's like everything that the Most High has truth for, the devil has a counterfeit. And it's like, you look at, for example, you look at the Shabbat, look how holy the Most High made it, and then Satan comes along, man, and he takes it and gives them a Sunday, and then what do on the Shabbat? They do everything that is abominable on the Shabbat, and they got our people again, got our people all mesmerized and everything. So go to chapter 87.
Okay. What's this?
We're in chapter
86.
Yeah, we read that last week.
All right, we in 87, right, y'all?
All right, good deal. All right, Yasharel. So again, we're gonna pick up from where we left off last week. And we're gonna get into some scripture. So I'm gonna read the first verse. I'm gonna read the first 4 verses this chapter, and then Brother Achai is gonna take the next chapter. So let's go ahead and get into it. And it says, and again, I saw how they began to gore each other and to devour each other. And the earth began to cry aloud. All right. So I'm going to stop right there because we're going to get some scriptures for that. So we covered that last week. It was talking about the Nephilims and how they were just causing havoc. All right. So we're going to read, we're going to get into two precepts. So one, we're going to go to Jubilees 5.
Okay.
And then I'm going to get one in Enoch. And then if Brother Aton wants to bring out something on that too.
That's a good, man. Those two are sufficient. Those two are sufficient. Those are good ones.
Yep. So let me bring it out. I thought I had it shared here. Okay. All right. So let's look at Jubilees 5, and then I'm just going to read 1 through 5. It says, and it came to pass when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of Elohim saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, and that they were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves women of all whom they chose, and they bore unto them the sons, and they were Nephilim. All right. And iniquity increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way. So we know the Nephilims, when we learned last week, are the elephants, camels, and the elephants, camels, and the where are my notes at here? Yep.
Elephants and camels.
Yep, camels, and what was the other one here? No,
and asses.
Yep, asses. Yep. Elephants, camels, asses. Those are the Nephilims. I always make sure I want to get that because that's important to know. You know, it says iniquity increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way. I like men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. They began to. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And iniquity increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men, he says all men was thus evil continually. So when we read in verse 1, it said they began to gore themselves, or devour one another. In verse 3, and it says, and Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. And all flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth which he had created. But Noah found grace before the eyes of Yahweh. You know, it's crazy because when I read this and I think about all the havoc that these fallen angels have caused, you know, from that star that was talking about in the beginning, we was reading about Shem-Yazah, and then the others, you know, who followed him. I mean, it's crazy. They caused all this stuff, and now you're creating these Nephilim because they took the women, went into them, and you know, turned their spiritual bodies, conformed, and went into the women, and created this crazy looking giants, you know. And that stuff is crazy. All right, let's go to the book of Enoch. Before I go to the book of Enoch, did you have anything you want to bring out?
No, brother, man, you doing it. Let's doing it.
All right. Let's go to Enoch. Let's go to Enoch 7, because it says something very interesting that I want to really want to bring out. So Enoch 7, I'm going to start with verse 9. All right. So these are the names of the chief Shem-Yazah, who was their leader. Yurakabar-Ramel, Akiyabel El, Samiel, Ramuel, Dan El, Ezekiel, Sarakinal El, Asael, Armors, Latral, Anani, Zavebi, Samaviel, Atrael, man, those some crazy, I ain't gonna say crazy, but man, those some names. Turiel, Yamiel, and I don't even know if they really pronounce this way because you know with translations and stuff. Araziel, these were the prefects of the 200 angels, and the remainder were all with them. Then they took women, each choosing for himself, whom they began to approach, and with whom they cohabited, teaching them sorcery, incantations, and the dividing of roots and trees. All right. Here's where it gets weird, and I'll break this down for you so you understand. It says, and the women conceiving threw forth Nephilim, and they before them 3 races. First, the great Nephilim, the Nephilim, and then brought forth the Nephilim, and the Nephilim brought forth the Eluyud, something like that. And they existed, increasing in power according to their greatness. So what's going on here? So I'm gonna kind of just break this down for you to understand. So we know that the angels came down, right? We know that the angels came down. They changed their form, came onto the woman, which created the first breed of Nephilims. Now these Nephilims, I guess apparently, if they're rebreeding, then they, it's kind of like you're washing down even more. So it's kind of like, how can I explain this? It's like, okay, take an Israelite who marries a white woman, right? What is that baby going to be? A baby's going to be a mamzer, right? So what if that baby marries another white person? Then that baby's going to continue to get whitewashed down. It's going to be like it's just weird, You tend to wash down the races like that. But in this case, it's like you're rebreeding with one another and creating all these different, well, not different, but kind of like mutations of Nephilims. Giants.
3 of them. You had 3 kinds.
Yeah, 3 kinds. So, and then the time, I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the time from the time of Adam to the flood was like a little bit, I think 2,000 years, give or take. So you had all that time between that time for them to do wicked, and have all these crazy breeds, kind of stuff. And it says, whose stature was each 3 cubits, 100 cubits. These devoured all the labor of men until it became impossible to feed.
Serious, man.
Man, it sounds like something out of a fairy tale, man. But this is crazy, though. Became impossible to feed them. When they turned themselves against men in order to devour them, and began to injure birds, beasts, reptiles, and fish, to eat one another's flesh and to drink their blood. Then the earth reproved the unrighteous. So let's go back. Let's go back to the scripture here. Let me pull this off. All right. So when we read here in Enoch 87, verse 1, where it says, and again, I saw how they began to gore each other and to devour each other. And the earth began to cry aloud. So, it's amazing how the Most High is laying this out before Enoch. He's giving Enoch a vision. He's seeing all this. And even all the way to our time, which we're going to be getting into early next week. But it's just amazing, how these prophecies are being fulfilled and live, in real time, even before our very eyes. A lot of it has passed because we see, and there's been evidence where they've dug up like giants, but they're not going to, of course, they're going to try to hide it from the public. These places like Smithsonian and all these other, they're going to try to hide that stuff because they don't believe in the Most High anyway. So, they believe in the creation of evolution. All right.
Go
ahead.
I wanted to add something on to that. Hey, have you ever, I know there's a, let me see if I can share it in the background. It's locked in. Let me see if I can share this. Have you ever seen that, like a lot of kids and stuff, or if you're in an anime or whatever, man, a lot of people watch this one. It's called Attack on Titan, right? Where we have this, it's about an anime about a bunch of giant monsters running around destroying the city. And you got these guys they're really trying to stop it. That's just, in a nutshell. It's more than that, I'm sure. But that is probably essentially what was going on in those days. Like they were making, huge walls and stuff to try to protect them from the Nephilim that was coming in, trying to take over the city and eat up the men and the children of men that was over there. But this is the same stuff that was going on even back in the day, even though as fantastical as it sounds. Right there. This is where they get all these ideas from, so forth and so on, is they end up reading the scriptures and they come down and they get it from our history.
Yep.
All right.
That's crazy, man.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I'm about to start in verse 2.
All right.
Yep. All right. But yeah, man, that's amazing, man. All right, I'm gonna read verse 2 and 3 because they kind of tie into each other, and then I'm gonna hit the scriptures again.
Hey, we in 56.
No, we in
I'm in 86.
87.
Sorry.
87.
Oh man, all right, God, what am I doing?
I don't know what you're doing.
Down here. All right. All right, God, I'm bad. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah, like the scrolling and stuff.
I don't even know how I got over there. God, yeah. Yeah, so if you've seen that anime, Attack on Titans, that's exactly where they get that from. Right? Somebody that got one of the Chinese folks or Japanese folks, they didn't got a hold of the book of Enoch, and they read in there, oh man, look, they got giants that were, terrifying and eating up men to the point where they had to protect themselves, and they had to get rid of them all. It's the same thing. And in the Children of Men, that's why they started creating all of these chain mails and coats of armor and stuff, is because they was fighting against the Nephilim, right? And who was the one that taught everybody this stuff about making chain mail and doing all the wickedness and killing it? It's Zazel, right? Even though Sam Yaza was the first one down here, he was more interested in cavorting with the women and stuff like that, rather than we have a Zazel that we see that, he was more concentrated on, let's just try to raise up the warfare and the technology of men. I'm willing to bet, man, probably one of his offspring of the Nephilim is the one still forwarding the technology that we have today. Nuclear bombs and all this other crazy stuff that we got going on that we know we ain't supposed to really have. That do nothing but destruction.
Crazy. All right, verse 2, and you might have to scroll up as I read. I'm gonna read verse 2 and 3 together because they kind of tie in, and then I'm gonna go to the scriptures. It says, "And I again raised mine eyes to heaven, and I saw in the vision, and behold, there came forth from heaven beings who were like white men. One of them came forth from that place, and 3 with him." Verse 3. "And those 3 who had last come forth grasped me by the hand and took me up away from the generations of the earth, and brought me up to a lofty place, and showed me a tower raised high above the earth, and all the hills were lower." Now, I know this is common, but I want to see in the comment box who you think this is. Who you think this is talking about? Go ahead and put it in the comment box. And then we want to get to the scriptures. We need time to. It's pretty straightforward. You know me, I like to kind of get those little pop quizzes. Just make sure we're all on the same page. Who was it talking about? Who was taken up amongst from the generations, his people?
There we go. The Levitical progeny.
That's right. All right. So let's go to the scriptures. Now I want to show you something, because I want to show you before Enoch was taken up. I want to show you how righteous he was, and how the angels guided him. So let's go there. I'm just going to be in this one for a minute here. Move this right here. And brother Aton, man, if you got anything, man, just jump on in.
Okay.
All right.
I got something we could pull out after this, talking about the you know what? I'll wait until I get to my words to pull that out, because that'll pretty much okay. Nah, my fault. Go ahead, brother.
No worry. No, do your thing, man. All right, so this is gonna be Jasher 3. I'm gonna start with I'm gonna read 3, and then we're gonna get into chapter 4 a little bit as well too. And it says, "And Enoch, or Shinnach, rose up according to the word of Yahweh, and went forth from his house, from his place, and from the chamber in which he was concealed. And he went to the sons of men, and taught them the ways of Yahweh. And at that time assembled the sons of men, and acquainted them with the instruction of Yahweh." Man, this was a righteous brother, man. And then when we go down, you're gonna see why he was so valued among the people, and why he was so chosen amongst the Most High. And it says, "And he ordered it to be proclaimed in all places where the sons of men dwelt, saying, Where is the man who wishes to know the ways of Yahweh and good works? Let him come to Enoch," or Shinnach. "And all the sons of men then assembled to him, for all who desired this thing went to Enoch, and Enoch reigned over the sons of men according to the word of Yahweh. And that was a righteous ruling. And they came and bowed to him, and they heard his voice.
But hey, go back, because a lot of people don't know that, Enoch was one of the first kings over there. I mean, he reigned over all men because of his righteousness behind the Lord. Hey, does it talks about how they would start following him and doing all kind of crazy stuff and didn't want to let him go?
Yeah, it kind of gets a little bit to that, but I think
Okay.
I think Jubilees kind of gets talks about that as well. And the Ruach Elohim was upon Enoch, and he taught all the men the wisdom of Elohim and his ways, and the sons of men served Yahweh all the days of Enoch, and they came to hear his wisdom. And all the kings of the sons of men, both first and last, together with their princes and judges, came to Enoch when they heard of his wisdom, and they bowed down to him. And they also required of Enoch to reign over them, to which he consented. Since Enoch was so righteous, that I can only imagine, man, just what was his spirit like, just being around him,
Hey, well, remember now, they were doing this. I don't know if it really breaks it down in this particular one, but they knew that Enoch was being taken up, and he was being judgment, that he was over the angels. So they was like, man, who's this man that gets to rebuke the angels? This man is holy, man. So they started following him because he's kept disappearing up into the into the third heaven at this particular time, before the Most High had raised him up permanently.
Yeah.
Well, at least into the latter days, because we know that even Enoch in his body, it's still not a spiritual body. It still has a seed of sin in there. He's just so strong and so near to the beginning that he can fight it off. Man, he's doing better than his grandpa and them. So he's doing better than Adam. Right? He hasn't succumbed to. And he's so righteous that he's over the angels. Imagine that, man. You got a regular body, and the angels had 200 spiritual bodies, and 200 spiritual bodies went off, and you got a man that has the seed of sin in him, and he's still rocking it, holding it down this long.
That's crazy. Hey, and this is the part that Brother Aton was talking about right here. It says, and they, about Enoch being king, it says, and they assembled in all 130 kings and princes, and they made Enoch king over them, and they were all under his power and command. So there you have it right there. So yes, Enoch was like, he was a king over all of them during that time.
Like the first world leader.
Yep. And Enoch taught them wisdom, knowledge, and the ways of Yahweh, and he made peace amongst them, and peace was throughout the earth during their life of Enoch. Man, that's unheard of, man, these days, man. Like, that's wild. And Enoch reigned over the sons of men 243 years.
That's before he got taken up.
Right. And he did justice and righteousness with all his people, and he led them in all the ways of Yahweh. Now this gets into I'm going to read this part right here, and then I'm going to go over to verse chapter 4. It says, and these are the generations of Enoch: Methuselah, Elisha, and Elimelech, 3 sons, and their sister were Milcah and Naamah. And Methuselah lived 87 years, and he begot Lamech. All right. So we know that. And then it was, now I'll read this part too. And it says, and it was in the 56th year of the life of Lamech when Adam died, and 930 years old when he had his death, and his 2 sons with Shinnach and Methuselah, his son, buried him with great pomp, and the bearer of kings in the cave which Elohim had told him. So, and it goes on to just kind of to generations.
930 years.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't live that full day, did he? He sure didn't. 70 years short of a day.
Yep. And it says, and all the days of Enoch lived upon the earth were 365 years. 365 years, man. And when Enoch had ascended into heaven, all the kings of the earth rose and took Methuselah, his son, and anointed him, and they caused him to reign over them in the place of his father. So Methuselah became the king then over all of them. So, and this is where it kind of gets into. I don't want to get too far because once we read further down, I'll start getting into like how the sun, the hearts of the men started to fade away in, disobedience, towards the Most High.
Remember Methuselah and Noah, man, they preached for 120 years that the Lord was going to destroy them. And we see that Methuselah was in a place of leadership and they still was bucking. Nah, we're not going to listen. How quickly they forgot, the teachings of Enoch. But I mean, like Methuselah living 89 years or something like that. I mean, like
969 years, I think. That was
969 years.
Yeah, he was the oldest. He was the oldest recorded living human on the earth.
That's a long time. That's a long time. And then we can see now that how quickly our people forget in just a couple of years, 50 years, 100 years, right, man? Look how low we're sunken right now. So we've forgotten. We don't even know who we are as a people.
It's crazy, man. All right. And let me go back to I'm on verse 4.
Got it.
All right. And it says, and they said unto me, remain here till thou seest everything that befalls these elephants and camels and asses. That's the Nephilim and the people. And it says, and the stars, we know the stars are the fallen angels, and the oxen and all of them. So that's the fallen angels. That's the Nephilims. That is the wicked men on the earth who have turned from the Most High. So they about to get something. So let's kind of go back into that right quick, because then it kind of starts leading into the whole all right. Did you want to say something before I bring this up?
Nah, you good, brother.
All right. All right, I want to start with verse hold on. I was going to start with that one. I'll start with this one, verse 14. So now it's getting into about to get into the calling of Noah. See, when this prophecy was given to Enoch, man, this was a time span. We're talking about from the very beginning of creation all the way to the end of the earth. I mean, that's in like just in like what 5 or 6 chapters. Man, that's a lot. That's why we wanted to do this in 3 parts. All right, Joshua 4:14, it says, and Methuselah called his name Noah, saying the earth was in his days at rest. You know what? Let me start with verse 1.
Bring it out.
That'll be better. It says, and all the days of Enoch lived upon the earth were 365 years. And when Enoch had ascended into heaven, all the kings of the earth rose and took Methuselah, his son, and anointed him, and they caused him to reign over them in the place of his father. And Methuselah acted uprightly in the sight of Elohim, as his father Enoch had taught him. And he likewise, during the whole of his life, taught the sons of men wisdom, knowledge, and the fear of Elohim. And he did not turn from the good way, either to the right nor to the left. See, this is why the fathers are so important, because Methuselah, Enoch taught his son Methuselah well, and then guess what? Methuselah took that same knowledge that he learned from Enoch, his father, and then taught everybody else, taught his descendants. And that's the way it should be.
That's right. The fear of the Most High, man. A lot of our people, man, a lot of Israel, even the earth, they don't fear the Lord anymore. And you're supposed to have a literal fear, because it says you're supposed to fear him who can destroy the body and the soul, or the spirit and the soul, right? There's no other being on the earth that can destroy that can do that to you, and other than the Most High.
That's right.
And we've been just lackadaisical in our everyday affairs, right? Just not even paying attention to the Lord. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do.
But in the latter days of Methuselah, the sons of men turned from Yahweh. They corrupted the earth and robbed and plundered each other, and they rebelled against Elohim, and they transgressed, and they corrupted their ways, and would not hearken to the voice of Methuselah, but rebelled against him. So Methuselah was putting in the work. But for some reason, down the way, the Most High, people, the people became corrupt. I bet you they started compromising. They started listening. They started probably, if we do this, man, we can make this better. Coming up with starting to go in their own ways, starting to see wisdom in their own light. That's dangerous. And that's how people go off.
God.
Yeah. Verse 5. And Yahweh was exceedingly wroth against them, and Yahweh continued to destroy the seed in those days, so that there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth. Wow. So y'all know what that's saying? It says, let me read that again. It says, and Yahweh was exceedingly wroth against them, and Yahweh continued to destroy their seed in those days. So he made it where they weren't producing as much because he was so tired of them, so that there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth. For when they sowed the ground in order that they might obtain food in their support, behold, thorns and thistles were produced, which they did not sow.
Yo, I want y'all to understand what the Most High is doing. Right? The Most High already knows that the Nephilim were destructive. So not only did the Lord make the ground not produce fruit to try to feed these folks, but the Lord just started causing all kinds of havoc on the earth. And Most High is like, you know what, man, we're gonna aggravate everybody, make thorns and thistles come up, and you're not gonna get the produce. Then on top of that, we're gonna make sure you don't have enough to feed the Nephilim, so they're gonna come around and come eat you.
Damn.
Man, it was a terrible time on the earth then, man.
Man, that's crazy, man.
You remember how big they were?
Yes, man.
I know you're.
It says, and still the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were still extended to do evil in the sight of Elohim, and they provoked Yahweh with their evil ways, and Yahweh was very wroth and repented that he had made man. Yeah, and he thought to destroy and annihilate them, and he did so. In those days, when Lamech, the son of Methuselah, was 160 years old, Seth, the son of Adam, died. Oh man, that's wild. Do you want to say something about?
No.
Okay. In all the days of Seth lived were 912 years, and he died. And Lamech was 180 years old when he took Ashmua, the daughter of Elishu, the son of Enoch, his uncle, and she conceived. And at that time, the sons of men sowed the ground, and a little food was produced. Yet the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and they trespassed and rebelled against Elohim. Man, they still acting a donkey. And the woman of, I know, man. And the woman of Lamech conceived and bore him a son at the time, at that revolution of the year. And Methuselah called his name Noach, saying the earth was in his days at rest and free from corruption. And Lamech, his father, called his name Menachem, saying, this one shall comfort us in our work and miserable toil in the earth, which Elohim has cursed.
Man, I'm telling you.
And it gets wild. It says, and the child grew up and was weaned and went in the ways of his father Methuselah, perfect and upright with Elohim. So Noah, again, righteous man. Yep, that's why he was chosen to build the ark. And all the sons of men departed from the ways of Yahweh in those days, as they multiplied upon the face of the earth with sons and daughters, and they taught one another their evil practices, and they continued sinning against Yahweh. See, that's the thing with good and evil. It's like, look at all these wicked men, and they're teaching their kids to do wicked, and then it's like remultiplying that stuff. Well, let's fast forward today. What's happening today with our people? If we're teaching our kids to obey these gods and worship Christmas trees and put all these ornaments in our houses and everything, what do you think we're doing? We're teaching the ways of the wicked. I mean, that makes a big difference. Either you're going to teach your children the ways of the righteous, or they're going to be wicked. There's no other way, and that's what was happening here. Mm.
Man,
Let's go
I'm
back to
telling
this.
you.
Let's go back to this verse real quick. I'm gonna read that last verse again.
Okay.
It says, verse 4. It says, "And they said unto me, Remain here till thou seest everything that befalls those elephants and camels and asses and the stars and the oxen and all of them." So we just read in Jasher that the sons of men were they've turned away from Almighty Yahweh. They got these fallen angels influencing them. Now they got these doggone Nephilim that's eating up everything, now turning on them. You got corrupt men that are teaching, it's only so much the righteous can do. And I can only imagine Methuselah, Noah, and any other righteous brothers who helped them. They probably was frustrated as all get out. And they probably didn't know what to do.
All right.
All right, brother. Got the next chapter.
Verse 88. Verse 88. All right. It's only 3 verses here. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, but I am gonna bring you to the precept of this so I can show you what's going on. It says, "I saw one of the 4 who had come forth," right? And one of the 4, right? These are 4 angels, right? And he sees that first star that had fallen from heaven and bound it, right? So it's talking about, when they had came and they had, seized up, Sam and Yazar and Azazel and them, and they bound it into the abyss. And now that abyss was narrow and deep and horrible and dark. And one of them drew his sword and gave it to those elephants and camels and asses. Then they began to smite each other, right? And one of them was one of the angels, decided it to cause war between the Nephilims. And then so they decided to fight each other. And that's how they ended up killing up a lot of them, killing a lot of each other off, because the Lord had only promised the Nephilim 500 years to live. Right. Then they began to smite each other, and the whole earth quaked because of them. And I was beholding in the vision, lo, one of the four angels, right, who had come to cast. Let's scroll down. Who had come to cast down from heaven, right? And they gathered and took all the great stars, whose privy members were like those of horses, and bound them all hand and foot, and laid them in an abyss in the earth. Right, so it's as crazy as that sounds. Let's go to a precept. Right, take this over here. All right, so this exact count is in Enoch chapter 10. Right, so we'll just go to Enoch chapter 10, and then we'll take a look at that real quick. All right, so we're talking about the 4 angels that came down. Right, so the first one was Asalaryah, right. It says, "Then the Most High, the Great and Holy One, spoke and said, Asalaryah to the son of Lamech." So that's one angel that got sent, right? "Saying to him in name, Conceal thyself, then explain to him the consummation which is about to take place. For all the earth shall perish. The waters of the deluge shall come over the whole earth, and the things which are in it shall be destroyed. And now teach him how he may escape, and how his seed may remain all in the earth." Right, so we're talking about here the coming of Noah. All right, and it says, again, the Lord said unto Raphael, right? So Raphael, boom, right? "Bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, in the opening in the desert, which is in Delul, cast him in there." Right, so we see how the Most High sent one to snatch him up. Right, "Throw him upon the hurled stones, covering him with darkness. There shall he remain forever, cover his face, that he may not see the light. And in that great day of judgment, let him be cast into the fire. Restore the earth, which the angels have corrupted, and announce life to it, that I may revive it. All the sons of men shall not perish in consequence of every secret by which the watchers have destroyed you, and which they have taught their offspring." That's another thing, right? You know how in the beginning, I just wanted to point this out. I was thinking about this the other day, how like, for example, everything is a process with the Most High, right? Even though the tree of life or the tree of good and evil or the tree of knowledge was here on the earth, right? Whatever you want to call it. It was a process, I believe, that in a certain time that we was going to be able to partake of it, but just not in the beginning. We were babies, right? It's just the same thing. It's like, like a lion, right? A lion was only like in the beginning, like a lion came 2 by 2. But the progression of a lion is we say that the full progression, right, after everything grew up and it manifested, and it was a lion supposed to be with a pride. But it wasn't like that in the beginning, right? It's the same thing. It's the development of how the creation was. So I see that when Hamashiach decided to create the earth, right, it was in its infantile stage that we were supposed to grow into knowledge, grow into wisdom, and grow into understanding. These things take time, as we see as we grow old today on the earth. So it was never like, people look at like, well, then why did God put that in the middle of the earth? They were supposed to eat it. Well, they were supposed to eat it, but not at that particular time, right? Because if the Most High did not want us to have that knowledge of good and evil, then he would have taken it away from us. He has the power to do that, right? When we get our spiritual bodies, we still have the knowledge of good and evil. So that means that our people, or the earth and humans, right, particularly the Israelites, God's chosen line, has developed enough to be able to acquire that information and understand it and survive with it, with a spiritual body. But at that particular time, we were just babies on the earth. So we weren't supposed to have something like that, which caused us to go off. It says, restore the earth. I said, all the sons of men shall not perish in consequence of every secret by which the watchers have destroyed, and which they have taught their offspring. All the earth has been corrupted by the effects of the teachings of Azazel. To him, therefore, ascribe the whole crime. Right. So this is probably why he was the main one that got locked up first and got hit upside the head, even though Sam Yazar is the leader. Right. To Gabriel, also the Lord said, right. So Gabriel's the second one. Right. So we see that the guy with the long name starts with an A in the beginning. Of the four stars that we saw that went and instructed the white bull in secret. Right. We already see that one of them was the white bull. The very first one was Arsarla. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce that again. Slaki. Right. So that was the first one. The second one is Gabriel. Right. It says, go to the biters, to the reprobates, to the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication, the offspring of the watchers from among men. Bring them forth and excite them one against another. Let them perish by mutual slaughter, for length of days shall not be theirs. Right. The scriptures that tell you exactly what happens. Right. You have a backstory. Right. So when you see these prophecies and things that take forth, they're in the scriptures. It says, they shall entreat thee, but their fathers shall not obtain their wishes respecting them, for they shall hope for eternal life, and that they may live, each of them 500 years. So the Most High only gave them half a day. Right. To Michael, likewise, Michael's the third one. Right. Likewise, the Lord said, go and announce his crime to Samyaza and the others who are with him, who have been associated with women that might be polluted with all their impurity. And when their sons shall be slain, when they shall see the perdition of their beloved, bind them for 70 generations underneath the earth, even to the day of judgment and of consummation, until the judgment, the effect of which will last forever, be completed. Then shall they be taken away into the lower depths of the fire and torments. In confinement shall they be shut up forever. Immediately after this shall he together with them burn and perish. They shall be bound until the consummation of many generations. So if we look back into the scriptures, let me put this other one up. So if we fast forward and we get to the secrets where we had just read, we were talking about earlier, right? It's the exact same thing that we see. Those ones that were, the privy members like horses, those were the fallen angels, right? It got them up, as we just read, locked them up in the dark place in the abyss, hand and foot in all the earth. So we know exactly what's going on when we're reading these things. It's easy to understand, right? Ed, hey, you know what's so important too also about this? Because even though we're covering things right now that have already happened, it is important that we get the history and the understanding of things that's already happened, because this is going to go into the future too, the things that have not happened yet. That's how deep this vision is that Enoch has. He sees from beginning to end. Right? It says, yeah, man. So that's basically, so I'm not going to beat you guys over the head with the understanding. Get it right here. So this is verse 88. Everything. If you want to go back to and get the whole breakdown of it, you can go to Enoch chapter 10, right? And Enoch chapter 10 will help you understand Enoch chapter 88, right? The first star is talking about, Balaam, Hannafoot. That was the first one that they got, even though he wasn't the first one that fell, right? That first star that's talking about in this particular scripture is talking about where's the first one that they got. It was Azazel, right? Because he was the main one doing most of the work, teaching women, makeup, war, arms, all kind of craziness that was going on. He was just doing the most out here, right? So the Lord said, man, let me hurry him get this nigga off. Sluck it, man. Let me hurry him get this dude up off here, man, because he's doing the most. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna scroll up, man. You can
yes, sure. Yep.
What are we doing? Reading 30 verses?
No, I'm in chapter. We're in chapter 87, 88.
Con. I was saying, how many verses are we reading?
15 apiece. I'm reading the first 15.
30 altogether. All right, con.
Yeah, 30 altogether. Yep. All right, I'm gonna start with verse 1.
Let's go.
When you're ready. All right. Now this is really going to get good, because now what Brother Aton was just reading was the imprisonment of these fallen angels, because their position was so high that, like, I don't know. I believe they're going to probably burn forever, because, like, how are you going to have a spiritual body? How are you going to desecrate your place of duty, then come down and go into the women? Like, that's a slap in the face.
Everybody
to the
gonna go
Most
burn
High.
forever. I don't.
Yep.
Don't keep
Well, they're gonna get it worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna get it worse though. Yeah, man, that's crazy, boy. All right, so starting with verse 89, verse 1, it says, and one of those four went to that white bull and instructed him, because we know that's Noah. All right, instructed him in secret, and he trembled. He was born a bull and became a man and built for himself a great vessel. Who would that be? It can only be Noah. That is the only prophecy that fulfills, and we're going to show you that in the scriptures. And dwelt thereon, and then it says, and 3 bulls dwelt with him in that vessel, and they were covered in. All right, so that's Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's 3 sons.
Right.
So I'm gonna read that again, and then we're gonna go to the scriptures. And it says, and one of those 4 went to that white bull and instructed him in a secret, and he trembled. He was born a bull and became a man. Because remember, Methuselah worked with Noah too, instructing. So because that was Noah's, Methuselah was the granddad of Noah, and built for himself a great vessel and dwelt thereon. And 3 bulls dwelt with him in that vessel.
You
want
to show what they're talking about when he was born a bull? Because remember now, when Noah was first born, he was born like a super holy child, which is what it's talking about, a bull, right? A bull is a representation of a great leader in the scriptures. It's like one of the white bulls or the white oxen. When he was born, he came out like he was an angel. He was glowing. His eyes were lit up for a while, and all that stuff. But then it says, and he became a man, which means that his countenance was dialed down after a while, right? Because that's the only way he was able to live amongst men. But a lot of people, also Enoch, they think that he's talking about that he was white, but he was not white.
It's also a sign too, because back in those days too, the Most High gave clear sign. A lot of people think that he was mulatto. I've heard people say that, but that's not the case.
No,
it was just glowing with that spiritual glow, to indicate that this is a chosen child, or this is somebody special.
Y'all remember? Well, of course y'all remember, right? So when Moses came off the mount after spending 40 days and 40 nights with I
was about to bring that out.
Yeah, with Hamashiach, right? He came down, they had to cover his face because he glowed. That was the same type of brilliance that it describes right there, how Noah was born. He was glowing, right? Because he was meant for greatness. From the beginning, that spirit was on him for protection. Go ahead,
All right. All right, I'm gonna start with the book. I'm gonna start with Jasher 5. So let's go in here right quick to read that one.
Bring it up.
This is just going to get into the life of Noah, all right, and his 3 sons, and then we're going to get into the other scriptures. It says, and after the lapse, can you see it on the screen? Is that okay? It's on the screen.
That's good.
And after the lapse of many years, in the 480th year of the life of Noah, Now, Noah is 488 88th year, 80th year, 480 years. All right, so many years has passed. All right, and that's 400 years, man. Like, what do you do in those years? It says, when all those men who followed Yahweh had died away, and from amongst the sons of men, and only Methuselah was then left. Wow. Elohim said unto Noah, and Methuselah, saying, speak ye and proclaim to the sons of men, saying, thus says Yahweh, return from your evil ways and forsake your works, and Yahweh will repent of this evil that he has declared to do to you, so that it shall not come to pass. For thus says Yahweh, behold, I give you a period of 120 years. All right, so y'all know what that means? So that means that they have, it's not talking about their age, because I've heard people say, oh, that's how old it. No, that's not, has nothing to do with that, because they were still living way past that. This is the time that they were given, a deadline they were given to repent. It says, for thus says Yahweh, behold, I give you a period of 120 years. If you will turn to me and forsake your evil ways, then will I also turn away from the evil which I told you, and it shall not exist, says Yahweh. All right, so the Most High is like, look, if these people, if they turn away, hey, I'll turn my plague from them. And it says, and Noah and Methuselah spoke all the words of Yahweh to the sons of men day after day, constantly speaking to them. Now y'all know how the prophets feel when they're constantly just speaking to their people, rebuking them, and they're just sitting there being wicked. It's frustrating. Now that's for 120 years at that. Man, that's still way longer than most people live. No, I don't think nobody lives on this earth for 120 years now these days.
Absolutely not.
It says, but the average lifespan is like 71, 75 if you're taking care of yourself. It says, but the sons of men would not hearken to them, nor incline their ears to their words, and they were stiff-necked. Sounds like us today. And Yahweh granted them a period of 120 years, saying, if they will return, then will Elohim repent of the evil, so as not to destroy the earth. So they had a chance, they had a chance to repent. Because again, you got to remember back in the day, Enoch was king of all of them. And Enoch taught them the righteous way, and then it was passed down to Methuselah. Methuselah taught them the righteous ways, but that's when they started to turn away sometime after that. It says, Noah, the son of Lamech, refrained from taking a woman in those days to beget children. For he said, surely now Elohim will destroy the earth, wherefore then shall I beget children. And Noah was a just man. So a just man meaning that he obeyed, kept the laws of the Most High. He was perfect in his generation. And Yahweh chose him to raise up seed from his seed upon the face of the earth. And Yahweh said unto Noah, take unto you a woman and begat children, for I have seen your righteousness before me in this generation. And you shall raise up seed and your children with you in the midst of the earth. And Noah went and took a woman, and he chose Naamah, the daughter of Enoch, and she was 580 years old. Man. And Noah was 498 years old when he took Naamah for a woman. And Naamah conceived and bore a son, and Noah called his name Shem, saying, Elohim has made me a remnant to raise up seed in the midst of the earth. And she conceived again and bore a son and called his name Japheth, saying, Elohim has enlarged me in the earth. And Noah was 502 years old when Naamah bore Ham or Shem. The boys grew up and went in the ways of Yahweh, in all that Methuselah and Noah, their father, taught them. All right. So I wanted to just stop there, and I'm gonna go back to the scripture here, and I'll read that again, so we get a clear understanding that prophecy being filled. And it says, and one of those four went to that white bull and instructed him in a secret, and he trembled. And he was born a bull and became a man, and built for himself a great vessel, and dwelt thereon. And 3 bulls dwelt with him in that vessel, and they were covered. So that white bull and then bore 3 other bulls. All right. So that's, of course, we saw that in the scriptures. That's Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It's amazing how these things, like, they just come together so smoothly. Now, this next account is going to go into the flood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read verses 2 through all the way through 8, because they all tie together. And then we're going to go to the scriptures so we can get that account. All right. You want to bring anything out before I read that?
Yeah, let me show something real quick. And I just want to prove, because a lot of people say that, I heard that before. I heard people that say that Noah was an albino. We got to remember now, albino is a recessive gene trait. If the Most High is going to choose a man to restart the whole earth, it'll be impossible for that man to be albino, right? Albino is the weakest of all the, you can't survive anything, right? So it'll be impossible for Noah to be an albino, right? But what they get that from is Enoch 105, and they don't understand the scriptures. Let's start at verse 2. It says, she became pregnant by him, right? Talking about Methuselah. Hold up, wait for a son. And she became pregnant by him and brought a child forth, the flesh of which was white as snow and red as a rose. Now, when you look at this, when it says white as snow is talking about brilliance. He was glowing. He was not a albino.
With no albino.
Right. And it says, and red as a rose, right? The hair of whose hair was white as wool and long, and whose eyes were beautiful. When he opened them, he illuminated all the house like the sun. The whole house abounded with light. So this is what we're talking about in the beginning when it says that he was born a bull. He already had the spirit of the Most High, marking him as something special from the very beginning. So his parents and everybody, they knew, hey, man, well, we got to raise something right with the Lord. We can't play no games because this is the Lord's chosen vessel. So it's not talking about white skin here. It's talking about brilliance, right? When you look at the sun shine off the snow, right? It's brilliance, right? As a matter of fact, this version actually that they have in there, is actually not a good, it's really not a good translation, right? It's really not a good translation. And that's another part of the issues here. All right. Salakia. I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah, and also to bring that out, yes, that's cool. And also to bring that out too, albinism is really, it's not that old concept, because back then, they were still living off the genetics of Adam. So, you didn't have those kind of defects back then.
Leprosy. Man.
Exactly.
If you look at the scriptures and you read anything about people with blonde hair or you have white skin, that's a curse from God. That's literal leprosy.
That's a degenerate mutation, and that didn't come to like thousands of years later. Probably, I guarantee you it probably came after the other nations were created. It probably came sometime after that, maybe thousands of years after that, though. But I know it didn't exist during Noah's time. Oh, let me take this off right quick. Go back over here. Where's the scripture at that you had up?
Oh, Salaki, I got it. Oh, no. Mine. All right.
The Enoch. Yeah.
All right, I got you. Let me pull that up. Boom.
All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to read verses 2 all the way through 8, because it all ties into the flood, and then we're going to go. I'm going to cover is one in Jubilees, and then there's one in Jasher as well too. I want to bring out because it kind of gives the details about the flood and how it broke up the foundations and all that. All right, so start with verse 2, and it says, "And again I raised mine eyes towards heaven, and saw a lofty roof, with 7 water torrents thereon, and those torrents poured much water into an enclosure." All right, it's talking about the beginning of the flood. "And I saw again, and behold, fountains were open on the earth in that great enclosure. And that water began to swell and rise upon the earth. And it hid that enclosure from view till the whole surface of it was covered with water. And the water, the darkness, and the mist increased upon it. And as I looked, at the height of that flood, it rose above the height of that enclosure and streamed over that enclosure and remained on the earth. And all the earth of that enclosure were gathered together until I saw how they sank and were all swallowed up and perished in that flood. But that vessel floated, so about the ark, about the Noah built, but that vessel floated on the water, while all the oxen, the evil men, and the elephants, and camels, and asses, the Nephilim, sank to the bottom together with all the animals, so that I could no longer see them, and they were not able to come out, but perished and sank into the depths. And again, I saw in the vision till those waters' torrents were removed from that high roof, and the chasms of the earth were leveled up, and other abysses were opened.
Other what?
Then the other abyss, he says, and the other abysses were opened.
That's so, man, we got stuff that we don't even know about here on the earth that are abysses that can swallow up that much water. Right. I want to bring something else about that water too whenever you come to a stopping point up.
Then the water began to run down into these tills the earth became visible. But that vessel settled on the earth, and the darkness retired and light appeared. Yes, Paul will be covering some of the scriptures because I'm going to bring out a lot of scriptures on this because I got like two different books I got to cover on this one. All right, so this is the whole account of the flood, y'all. So, well, we're going to get into the scriptures because we're going to get into the details. So first, we're going to go into Jubilees chapter 6, and we're going to look at how the flood proceeded, and then we're going to go to Jubilees chapter 5, and we're reading that because it also gives an account. And then brother Aton to bring out something as well about the water. So we're going to be in this part about the water for a minute here. All right, so just bear with us. All right.
And the reason being why it's important for us to truly understand the state that we're living at. You know, I know you guys heard us, talk about it before, but we're not on some floating ball in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
Hey, man, we're right there in the throne room of the Most High. Hey, he's paying attention. Right? The earth is set on pillars that it may not move. From what they tell you, from what the heathens tell you, from what the scriptures tell you, it's two different things, two separate things.
Yep. That's wild, man. All right, let me see. I'm gonna start with verse 11.
Bring it up.
Down there. And then we're gonna go to
pull that up.
All right. All right, so Jasher chapter 6, and we'll start with verse 11. All right, and then I'll read that, and then we'll go to Jubilees chapter 5 to get into the account of the flood itself. All right, so this is what, from the beginning that Noah was trying to, and Methuselah was trying to get these evil men to repent. All right, well, we're going to see what the account is on this one. It says, on that day, it says, and on that day, Yahweh caused the whole earth to shake, and the sun darkened, and the foundation of the world raged, and the whole earth, it said the whole earth, y'all, was moved violently. It didn't say part of the earth. It said the whole earth was moved violently, and the lightning flashed, and the thunder roared, and all the fountains in the earth were broken up, such as was not known to the inhabitants before. And Elohim did this mighty act in order to terrify the sons of men, that there might be no more evil upon the earth. But watch this. And still the sons of men would not return from their evil ways. Man, that's great. Man, if that happened right now, that would scare the mess. But then again, I guarantee you people will probably go back to the evil ways again. And they increased the anger of Yahweh at that time and did not even direct their hearts to all this. Man, they just completely and just blatantly just wicked. And at the end of 7 days, in the 600th year of the life of Noah, the waters of the flood were upon the earth, and all the fountains of the deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. It's talking about from the firmament, the windows of heaven, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Hey, I remember that time you was here. We was here for the Feast of Tabernacles, man, and we was looking at we was looking at what they call the Milky Way, and like it looks like it's split.
Yeah, it looks like a split.
That's what. Yeah, it looks like that's where the waters. That's where the windows of heaven opened up at. It's man.
It was so crazy. Large, man. Could you imagine like water pouring in from that top?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But that'd be so scary.
Man, that'd be terrifying. And Noach and his household and all the living creatures that were with him came into the ark on account of the waters of the flood, and Yahweh shut him in. And all the sons of men that were left upon the earth became exhausted through evil on account of the rain. For the waters were coming more violently upon the earth, and the animals and beasts were still surrounding the ark. And I know reading it, but actually just visualizing it, man, that is two different things, I
know that's right.
And the sons of men assembled together, about 700,000 men and women, and they came unto Noach to the ark. And they called to Noach, saying, open for us, that we may come into the ark, and wherefore shall we die? And Noach with a loud voice answered them from the ark, saying, have you not all rebelled against Yahweh, and said that he does not exist? And therefore Yahweh brought upon you this evil, to destroy and cut you off from the face of the earth. A fool says in his heart that there's no God.
Facts. That's a heavy scripture, man.
Yeah. Is not this the thing that I've spoken to you for 120 years back?
How many years?
120 years.
That's
and
right.
You would not hearken to the voice of Yahweh. And now do you desire to live upon the earth? And they said to Noach, we are ready to return to Yahweh. Only open for us that we may live and not die. Yeah, right.
Now you're ready to come back.
Yeah, when you're scared, man, you do anything. And Noach answered them, saying, behold, now that you see that trouble of your souls, you wish to return to Yahweh. Why did you not return during these 120 years, which Yahweh granted you as a determined period? And that goes to say for us, we're on borrowed time, y'all. We're on grace time, because technically we should have been destroyed a long time ago.
Man.
It says, but now, go ahead.
Just think about what's going on right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, at the last moment, you're talking about now I want to obey. Man, the Lord's done with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. So don't think that when you're out here in the streets and you're doing something crazy, and then all of a sudden, you haven't been keeping no commandments, you have not been obeying God or doing anything like that, and all of a sudden you get in the streets, and then you try to call out for the Lord to help you. How dare you? Go ahead, Op.
All right. I'm going to skip down to 26. And the rain was still descending upon the earth, and it descended 40 days and 40 nights, and the waters prevailed greatly upon the earth, and all flesh that was upon the earth or in the waters died, whether men, animals, beasts, creeping things, or birds of the air. There only remained Noah and those that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed, and they greatly increased upon the earth, and they lifted up the ark, and it was raised from the earth, as we was reading, And then the ark floated upon the face of the waters, and it was tossed upon the waters, so that all the living creatures within were turned about like pottage in a cauldron. So now I can see animals. Man, I can see animals flipping and falling over and turning and yelling, crying out.
Yeah, you stir the pot, man. That's how everybody. Hey, it says turn about like pottage in a cauldron. That lets you know that there are borders on the earth. It's not you cannot escape. Right? The Lord filled up the fishing bowl with water, and there's nothing we could have done to get out. I mean, hey, man, that's scary. Like, we're literally in like an aquarium or whatever. You know what I mean? And we're at the Most High's, mercy, and nobody doesn't fear the Most High, man. We all think, man, look at society. They think they got the Space Force and all this stuff that they're going to try to fight. But then in reality, man, you ain't nothing but grasshoppers in a little aquarium. What are you going to do? Right? Imagine if you were watching over some grasshoppers in an aquarium, and then all of a sudden you think the grasshoppers are going to, develop these, missiles and all kind of stuff to try to take out you. No, no, that's not going to happen. That's the reality of the scope that we are on versus, humanity versus the Most High. for you to, I mean, like, man, just like how we read a long time ago, those guys at the Tower of Babel, how they thought they were going to climb up, you know what I'm saying, climb up the Tower of Babel and then shoot the Most High with arrows. Are you serious? Like, imagine a little tiny little you know, cricket, you know, on a little small little bush, you know, and then, you know, he's trying to you know, throw little pebbles at you from the aquarium. Are you serious? That you know, that is insane.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rock. Slogger, man. I'm just
Man, this stuff is it's wild, man.
yeah.
So that.
The cauldron.
Yep.
Yeah, we're on.
No, I was just looking. So I wanted to see if I want to bring something out.
All right,
okay, it says, and a great anxiety sees all the living creatures that were in the ark, and the ark was like to be broken. So I mean, they were frightened. They were frightened. It says, and all the living creatures that were in the ark were terrified, and the lions roared, and the oxen lowed, and the wolves howled, and every living creature in the ark spoke and limited in its own languages, so that their voices reached to the great distance. And Noah and his sons cried and wept in their troubles. They were greatly afraid that they had reached the gates of death.
You know, the Most High just, even though Noah was chosen and then, you know, he did right, the Lord just tossing him around up and everything.
Dang,
hey, everybody got to get this work.
Yep, because you got to see the wickedness or the result of the wickedness.
Yeah, man.
I mean, but see, that's what we're seeing right now, because, you know, if we look at the time we're living in, even though, you know, we're keeping the commandments with all our heart, mind, and soul, man, we got to go through the fire too.
Absolutely.
You know, all these things got to come to pass, and guess what? We're going to catch it too. You know, that's like, dang, man, it might not be as bad for us as the wicked, but you know, we're still going to see the results of it. And Noah prayed unto Yahweh and cried unto him on account of this. And he said, "O Yahweh, help us, for we have no strength to bear this evil that has compassed us. For the waves of the waters have surrounded us. Mischievous torrents have terrified us." Mischievous torrents. It says, "The snares of death have come before us. Answer us, O Yahweh. Answer us. Light up your countenance toward us and be gracious to us. Redeem us and deliver us." Yeah. And Yahweh hearkened to the voice of Noah, and Yahweh remembered him. And
he remembered him. Noah get tossed around. Like, hold up, man. The Lord, remember I'm over here.
Yeah, but he had to pray though, man.
Yeah.
He had to pray hard. And the wind passed over the earth, and the waters were still, and the ark rested. And then the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. So I'm gonna start right there, because I want to go into Jasher, because it goes into all the other details about the flood as well too. So let's go to Jasher.
While he's bringing out,
I'm sorry,
I want to bring
Jubilees.
out a point. While he's bringing out Jubilees, I want to bring out a point my pops made. He says, this is where the oil comes from dead animals that was covered up by the soot and mud after the flood, right? And that is exactly where that stuff comes from, where they get oil and stuff like that nowadays. It's not from millions of years and trillions of years. It's from the dead folks and human beings and all that stuff that was covered up by the flood.
All dead fossils. It could be trees, all kinds of stuff, fishes, animals, anything, living thing that was created, that was under the ground. It's probably why they're having all these issues now, man, because, you know, everything is run off of oil, man.
That's crazy, man. Only so much of that can be left.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, go ahead and bring yours out right quick. You want the scripture you want to bring out on the waters?
Con. Gotcha. Let me see here. Let me stop this. Share screen. All right. I wanted to share. Boom. Right. Second Ezra chapter 6. We're gonna start at we're gonna just read verse 6, number 1, and then we're gonna go down to, I think, 40 something, like 41 maybe. It says, and he said unto me in the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the wind blew. And I wanted to bring out the borders of the world stood, right? That's the firmament, right? You can't get out, right? It says, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up before the measures of the firmament were named, right? Now, I want to skip down here. I think some 41. Let me see. All right, boom. Slovakia. All right, boom, right? And gather these to be planted. All right, yeah, we'll start. I don't know why this is highlighted. It is in my normal Bible. All right, so we start right here. It says, upon the second day, thou madest the spirit of the firmament, right? Now, if you look up the Hebrew word for the firmament, I believe it's a vault, right? A vault. It'll be described as a vault, which means that can you escape a vault? No, it's the vault of heaven. You cannot escape it. You can't get past it. That's why every time you see these NASA rocket ships, man, all of a sudden you see they don't never go straight up. They go off into an arc, off into the long distance where you can't see them no more, and then they go into the water. And it's impossible to get out. You cannot get out of what the Most High has created. And it says, and commanded us asunder, right? So he split the firmament to make a division betwixt the waters, right? That one part might go up and the other remain beneath. So you look up at the sky, you wonder why the sky is blue. That's because there's water on the other side of there. That's why the sky is blue, right? It's real simple. It's not hard for us to understand, right? Because you never see in the scriptures they're asking why is the sky blue or why is it, because they know. Because this is old knowledge in the scriptures, that there are the springs of water, 7 springs of water that are above the firmament. All right.
I'm going to bring that out too.
Brother Daniel.
Yep, and put that scripture back up too, Enoch, because I want to bring something out right quick.
I got you out. Gotcha. Which one you want to bring out?
I'm going to bring out verse 1 again. I'm sorry, verse 2. Verse 2 okay. Of 89. Where it says, and again, I raised my heaven. I raised my...
I got you.
I'm going to show you something right there. Yep, go ahead and highlight it right quick. Because it talks about those 7 torrents, and I'm going to show you in the scriptures that it matches this. All right. Good? All right.
Yep, that's it right
there. So watch this, y'all. It says, and again, I raised mine eyes towards heaven and saw a lofty roof with 7 water torrents thereon. All right. It's talking about the firmament. And those torrents poured much water into the enclosure. Now watch this. Let's go to Jubilees. Jubilees 5. I'm gonna start with 23. It says, and he entered in the 6th year thereof, in the 2nd month, on the new moon of the 2nd month, till the 16th, and he entered in all that we brought to him into the ark, and Yahweh closed it from without on the 17th evening. And Yahweh opened 7 floodgates. Those are the torrents. Opened 7 floodgates of heaven, which are the torrents that it spoke about in the book of Enoch, and the mouths of the fountains of the great deep, 7 mouths in number, and the floodgates began to pour down water from the heaven 40 days and 40 nights. And the fountains of the deep also rent up waters until the whole world was full of water. So not only did you have water coming from the firmament, you had water coming from below the earth at the same time.
Men think they understand what's going on, man. We don't know what's going on this earth.
But hey, man, could you imagine the atmospheric pressure though from that?
Man, like you're right.
Whenever you have water coming down, just imagine the condensation, and then water coming from the ground. Man, that's some serious atmospheric pressure, man. That's probably enough to bust your eardrums open.
Yeah, Noah was going through it.
Dang.
Noah was going through it, and so the animals.
Yep, and it says, and the waters increased upon the earth. 15 cubits did the water rise above all the high mountains. Man. So the highest mountain, man, it was 15 cubits over the highest mountain. And the ark was lifted up above the earth, and it moved upon the face of the waters.
Hey, think about it. It had to. right?
Yeah.
Because remember how tall the giants were. Like the giants
Yeah.
were, what was it, 15? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
were so big that they had to cover up the tallest of the mountains.
Mm-hmm. Man, it's crazy. And the water prevailed on the face of the earth 5 months, 150 days. And the ark went and rested upon on the top of Luber, one of the mountains of Ararat. You know, so it's kind of that's what I wanted to bring. That's all I wanted to bring out right there, was just the nature and the power of that flood. You know, those waters, man, those 7 torrents that it talked about in the book of Enoch. That goes to what's that?
No,
I'm gonna read. Oh, you got. Oh no, go ahead, bring it out. Go ahead and bring your scripture out.
All right, this is the last one I'm gonna share.
Yep.
All right, so also write the scripture down, 2 Ezra chapter 4 and 7. And he said unto me, if thou shalt ask thee how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the firmament, right? Or which are outgoings of paradise. So this lets you know, man, that there is no such thing as space and
Nope.
and other planets. You get the other galaxies, these you know, the Milky Way and all this other nonsense that is not real. Right?
No Star Trek, no Star Trek, no Star Wars, no what you call that galaxy galactic unification, whatever they call it.
Yeah, nothing. You know, you're not gonna have any green men coming from any faraway galaxies trying to attack Earth. No, none of that stuff is true. You're in a concealed teraphim. You know, what is it? A Terranian environment. We're enclosed. You can't get out. There's nothing that you can do. We're enclosed, period. That's how the moisture stays in and is able to condensate and then come back down from the clouds. Nothing escapes. It tells you, I mean, like, you can just look based on the environment that nothing escapes. No pollution, no anything. Because if there's a such thing as outer space and you had the vacuum of space on the outside and all this other craziness, man, how would you get an atmosphere without the vacuum of the all space sucking it off, right? I mean, a lot of the stuff that, you know, these heathens tell you, it does not make sense. Just a simple thought of how they're telling you that the world works, you'll be like, nah, I don't know, that don't seem right. You know what I mean?
Don't have to make sense. You just got to believe it like a dummy. Man, didn't they just fake another moon a moon travel voyage or something like that recently?
Yeah. Facts. On April Fool's Day. Yeah. They lost the shuttle off on April Fool's Day. Not one, they didn't show you nothing live, nothing. That stuff is crazy, man. Man, they had this dude, he had this picture. He was like, this is Voyager. They're almost there at the moon. I mean, they're almost made it, and this is me at my house. And the guy at the house, his camera was closer. It just didn't make any sense, man. The way these heathen try to just lie on the Most High and try to act like that his works are feeble and that, you know,
man.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Ooh-wee.
That's crazy.
Like, think about it, Israel. If you got humans that can think up whole universes of, like, you know, these comic books and movies and all of this stuff that they just made it up. That's what these heathens do. It's make believe. All the thing they do is fantasy and make believe. It's not real. It's not biblical. But then when you look at the reality of things and how the scriptures truly show you how the world works and how things are, it's a lot scarier like way, because you know that the weight of the Most High is right there upon you. The eyes of the Lord is truly like 10,000 suns. It's right there. You're not going anywhere. You're never going to leave Earth. Never. You're never going to leave Earth for eternity. The only thing that's going to happen is the Lord is going to open up the firmaments above, and then you're going to be and then you're going to be able to see up in the throne room where the Most High is at. That's it. When he splits the sky, where it talks about that part, when it's all splitting, when he rolls away the sky, the waters of above and all those springs, they're going to part along with the firmament. And guess what? Whoop-de-doo. There's the Most High sitting on the throne. You're not in, you know, you're not in some faraway galaxy, you know, spinning at 1,037 miles an hour, going another 500 1,000 miles an hour spinning, all this other crazy stuff that these heathen got you telling you. And there, and you know, nobody's motion sickness. We see the same constellations year in, year out. We have you know, it's just madness. Go ahead, Doc.
All right, let's go back to.
I'm gonna put that on the screen again.
Yeah, put that scriptures on the screen. We'll start with verse 9.
All right, we can bring it up.
All right. So we just read about the whole account of the flood. We was in that for a while. I knew that was going to take a good minute and everything. So verse 9. So this is towards the end now. After the flood, it says, "But that white bull, which had become a man, Noah, came out of that vessel, and the 3 bulls with him, and the one of the 3 bulls was white." And of course, we know that. Yeah, that has to be Shem, because that's what the righteous seed will come out of, like that bull. And one of them was red as blood, and the other black. And that white bull departed from them. So, you know, this is where they get, like, you Christians, this is where they get that whole notion where Shem, you know, was white, Ham was black, and then whatever, Japheth was yellow. You know, some crazy stuff. But the colors had nothing to do with their outer appearance. No, all of Noah's sons were black.
Facts.
All right. It's just that you know, it describes them that way because of what was going to come out of them, the generations that's going to come out of them.
Absolutely.
So let's go to Jubilees 7. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's going to really get into the generations of Noah, and I'm only concerned about Shem's line. I don't really care about because they don't matter, the lines of Ham and Japheth, because that's not where the chosen seed is going to come from.
And another reason, Israel, I want y'all to know that, you know, we like going through these hidden books, and we want to get you guys familiarized with these books, right? The more we familiarize with you with these books, and you know where the stories are at, you can be able to line up the precepts, right, with the with what they call the canon, you know, what the white man approved of, right? Even, you know what I mean? It's all the same, right? Nothing you read here is anything different than what you read anything else that we read. And then we're going to continue to show you this, you know, year in and year out, as we continue to cover these hidden books and, you know, cover the other books of the scriptures, right? This just completes the story, you know, gives you the nuances, right? The little details that you're missing.
Okay. A second here.
Where we at?
I'm just looking for something because I wanted to bring out this Shem's line.
Okay, go on. All right. Yeah, man. But, you know, why Brother Daniels... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'll say, well, you know, why Brother Daniels bringing that out, right? This prophecy that we're bringing out, dealing with, you know, you got to realize how many, you know, years ago this was written, and everything that came from this was true, right? All Enoch's prophecies that came through, the white bulls, and they come the oxen, and they came forth, and the flood, and this, that, and the third, right? And how they're born up this. We're living it. You know what I'm saying? We've already lived through that point, and then we're going to come a time when we're still going to be showing this stuff that we have a time that we have not lived through yet. So that just goes to show you that this is why the Bible, or you know, the Bible is the best sold book on the earth. It cannot be beaten. The prophecies will always come true. The Most High's word always comes to fruition. And it is as hard as these heathens might, man, they can't destroy the book. They can't destroy the words of the Lord. Why do you think that, man? You know, because if you seriously were to sit here and then look at these scriptures, right, and truly break it down, man, if you were a smart heathen, man, you would never let this thing be published. You would never let this be published. But why is it being published over and over again, year in and year out? That's because this is the truth, and they can't stop the words of the Lord. You got what you're looking for yet, Doc?
Yep, that's what I'm bringing out. So let's go back to the scripture right quick, because matter of fact, I need to read the next one, so it'll be brought out more clear. All right, Yasharel, let me read that again. I'm going to read verses
9.
Yep, I'm going to read 9. I'm going to read 9 and 10 this time. It says, "But that white bull which had become a man came out of that vessel, and the 3 bulls with him, and one of the 3 was white like that bull, and one of them was red as blood, and one black, and that white bull departed from them." All right, so that means that their father would pass away, and then their sons would descend, and their descendants would come from them. Verse 10, "And they began to bring forth beasts of the fields and birds." So remember this right here as we go on. So from the descendants of Japheth and the descendants of also Shem, all of them are going to come different nations. It says, "And they began to bring forth beasts of the field and birds, so that there arose out of them altogether a multitude of kinds, lions, tigers, dogs, wolves, hyenas, wild boars, foxes, squirrels, swines, falcons, vultures, kites, eagles, ravens, and among them was born a white bull." All right, so we're going to get into the birth of Abraham, but first I want to get into and show you that, just kind of go over the descendants of Noah's sons, all right, and how they were produced to other nations. This is going to be a long one, but I'm not going to go all the way into detail. I'm just going to kind of just hit on some points right here. And it says, "And these are the names of the sons of Noah, Japheth, Ham, and Shem. And the children were born of them after the flood, for they had taken women before the flood. These are the sons of Japheth, Gomer, which is Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavin, Tubal, Meshach, and Dirach. 7 sons." Now you can use some downtime. You can read all of this because this kind of goes into the generations of the 3 sons, but I'm only going to just focus on the Shem's line, all right, because it's going to lead us to Abraham, to that white bull that was born, because it's also talking about Abraham. All right. So when you go down to all the way to verse 9, these are all the descendants of Japheth. All right. And then let's look at this. It says, "And these are the sons of Ham, Cush, Messerine, where we would be enslaved to." It says, "Put, Canaan, 4 sons, and those the sons of Cush were Kava, Chavila, Kavta, Rama, and Kafteka, and the sons of Rama were Sheva and Dedan." All right, so just going down the line again, this is really good stuff to read if you really want to kind of just get the generations of those, and then other generations would come out of them. And then when it says tigers, the tigers of course represents the Assyrians, the wolves, Egyptians, dogs, Canaanites, hyenas, Ethiopians. Wild boars would be the Edomites, foxes, Ammonites, and the swine, the Amaleks. All right, it's verse 19. It says, "These are the generations of Shem, and Shem begat Araphath, and Araphath begat Shalak, and Shalak begat Eber, and Eber was born 2 children, and the name of whose Peleg, for in his days the sons of men were divided, and in latter days the earth was divided." Now remember, in Genesis it talks about after the flood, it says that Noah's sons, all 3 Noah's sons, were dispersed to all the 4 corners of the earth. It happened twice. It happened right after the flood, and it happened again right after the Tower of Babel. So that's why, when people say that Christopher Columbus discovered America, he didn't. There were folks already here, and they were dark-skinned people. All right, you got anything you want to bring out before I carry on?
Nah, go ahead, man. Christopher Columbus didn't even get off the boat because he was wanted. Yeah, we don't want to get on that, but that's the real story.
Yeah.
His Italian map maker is actually founded here by accident.
Yeah. So let's I'm gonna read verse 10 again. It says, "And they begat to bring forth beasts of the field and birds, so that there arose out of them altogether a multitude of kinds." We're talking about almost 1,000 years of just lineages: lions, tigers, dogs, wolves, hyenas, boars, foxes. These are all representing people, different nations: squirrels, swine, falcons, vultures, kites, eagles, and ravens. And among them was born a white boar. And that's talking about Abraham. All right, and we're gonna get into that. And it says, and they began to bite one another. But that white bull which was born amongst them begat a wild ass, and a white bull with it. And the wild ass multiplied. So when Abraham, remember, Abraham had Ishmael first, that wild ass. All right, and then he had a white boar, which later would be Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Isaac. So let's get the birth. So let's it's really long, man. I wanted to go over Abraham when he was born and how Nimrod wanted to destroy him, but that's gonna be a long one.
How the 3 stars and how the 1 star
the
3 stars.
Yeah, that's gonna be a long one.
Well, you know what, man? We'll do that when we break down Jasher.
Yeah, we will, because it's a lot. But I will give a synopsis of that. So just talking about the birth of Abraham, right? Being born, he was chosen by the Most High, and there was a prophecy that Nimrod's servants saw, and they saw these 4 stars shooting. But I don't want to give too much away, because that's a lot, to go into and everything. So let's go with the birth of Ishmael. So let's go to Jasher 16.
Y'all boys want a Superman origin story. Abraham.
I know, man. That's
his
wow.
origin. Yeah, Abraham's story is like that. That's probably one of the toughest ones out of everyone in the scripture. Abraham is the man. Right? Y'all thought David was strong. Well, the covenant got passed down from Abraham that we got his strength.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole reason why the 12 tribes are, as athletic and strong as we are. They come from the strength of Abraham. We're still surviving off the grace and the covenant of Abraham till this day, our people.
Mm-hmm. All right. So when we read that scripture where it says, I'll read that part again. All right. And they began to bite one another. But that white bull, which was born amongst them, begat a wild ass, and a white boar with it. And the wild ass multiplied. So let's look at one in the book of Jasher 16. I'm going to start with verse 28. And Abraham hearkened, that was before he was called Abraham. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of his woman, Sarah. And he took his handmaid, Hagar, and Abraham came to her, and she conceived. Now, y'all know how the story goes, because it was Sarah who laughed, because the angel came up to him and said that, hey, you're going to have a son. And she laughed in her heart, and she didn't have faith, so she had Abraham go into her handmaid so they can bear a son. And when Hagar saw that she had conceived, she rejoiced greatly, and her mistress was despised in her eyes. And she said within herself, this can only be that I am better before Elohim than Sarah, my mistress.
Now you got to remember now, Sarah was super fine. Like Sarah was so unbelievably fine that the Most High had to humble her.
So fine that that Abraham had to lie and said that, hey, just tell him you're my sister.
Yeah,
but she wasn't really lying, because it was his half sister, but still, it wasn't his full sister. It says, for all the days that my mistress has been with me, with my Adonai, she did not conceive, but me Yahweh has caused in short time to conceive by him. Dang. Hey, man. Hagar, man. Hey, Hagar is trolling, boy. And when Sarah saw that Hagar had conceived by Abraham, Sarah was jealous of her handmaid. And Sarah said within herself, this is surely nothing else but that she must be a better than I am. And Sarah said unto Abraham, my wrong be upon you, for at the time when you did pray before Yahweh your children, why you did not pray on my account, that Yahweh should give me seed from you. How you go?
Now you blaming Abraham. Now you blaming Abraham.
It says, and when I speak to Hagar in your presence, she despises my word, because she has conceived, and you will say nothing to her. I can imagine, man, Abraham probably like, he's just probably sitting back, man, y'all work this out. It says, may Yahweh judge between me and you for what you have done to me.
Hey, you remember Sarah hated Hagar so much that even when like, what was it, like 20, 30 years later when he went to go visit Ishmael, she had made him swear not to get off the camel. Or was it a donkey? I think it was a donkey. Swear not to get off the donkey. That's some strong hate there. You know what I'm saying? When you go see your son, I swear, you must swear to me. That's the only way I'll let you go if you don't get off the donkey. Man, you can't even hug your son, really. Go ahead, man. That's just, you know what I'm saying? That boy was beefing for a long time.
Oh, man. It says, and Abraham said to Sarah, behold, your handmaid is your handmaid. Do unto her as if it may seem good in your eyes. And Sarah afflicted her, and Hagar fled from her to the wilderness. Man, you know, that's amazing. That really lets you know, like, how the servants were treated back in those days, because the Most High didn't care. You know, it was like, that's your property. You do whatever you want.
Hey, she had to be getting beat too to flee to the wilderness. You know, she was probably Abraham, you got to stop the beat. Ain't nothing I can do, man. You have a servant. That's horrible, man.
Oh man. Yep. And then here's where that wild ass began to multiply. And it says, and an angel of Yahweh found her in a place where she had fled by a well, and said to her, do not fear, for I will multiply your seed, for you shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael. Now then, return to Sarah your mistress, and submit yourselves unto her hands. And Hagar called that place of that well Beer Lachia Roi. It is between Kadesh and the wilderness of Berid. And Hagar at that time returned to her Adonai's house. And at the end of the days, Hagar bore a son to Abraham, and Abraham called his name Ishmael. And Abraham was 86 years old when he begot him. All right, so that's Ishmael, right?
Boy.
86. So that's Ishmael. So I'm gonna read that part again, and it says, and this is Enoch 11.
I'm sorry, but yo, man, Abraham. Hey, oh yeah, that's right, man. Abraham lived to be old though.
Yeah, he was up.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, man, he was kind of old.
Remember, man, he was still living off the genes of his forefathers too.
Yeah, facts.
Right. Okay, and in verse 11 it says, and they began to bite one another, but that white bull which was born amongst them begot a wild ass. All right, and we just read that, and that white bull with it, and the wild ass multiplied. So we just saw in the scriptures that Most High told Hagar that he would multiply Ishmael's seed, which he did. And this is why you probably Middle East, you got all these so-called Arabs now. All right, so now let's look at the birth of Isaac, because it says that he begot a wild ass and a white bull with it. All right, so they weren't born at the same time, of course. But Isaac would be his firstborn, because he's from different nations. So let's take this off. Let's go to Jack 21 time.
Oh man, hey man, bring it out. Hey, I'm doing all the hard work because the last 15, man, I hardly really had to break down nothing. Let's go.
Don't worry. You got yours, man. All right.
Let's go, brother.
Help me highlight this. All right, man. These stories are amazing, man. I mean, it's amazing how the Most High is laid out everything for us. All right, so Joshua 21. All right, and it says, and it was at that time, at the end of a year and 4 months of Abraham's dwelling in the land of the Philistine in Gerar, that Elohim visited Sarah, and Yahweh remembered her, and she conceived and bore a son to Abraham. And Abraham called the name of the son which was born to him, which Sarah bore to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac at 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded Abraham to do unto his seed after him. And Abraham was 100, and Sarah was 90 years old when Isaac was born to them. Well, see, back then that might seem old, but really, man, that was, it was nothing to the Most High, man. It says, and the child grew up and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast upon the day of Isaac and was weaned. All right. And I'll start right there, because then it starts to get into other stuff. But I want to just make sure I stay with the reading in the scriptures that we're reading.
God.
All right, so let me take this off right quick. Let's go back here. Now, these next two verses before Brother Aton take over, pretty much self-explanatory. You don't really have to go there unless you just want to. But 12 and 13 is very straightforward. It says, but that bull which was born from him begot a black wild boar. You know, we know black wild boar. What would that be? Esau. And a white sheep. So that would be Jacob and Esau. So this is going all the way into the line of Isaac having bearing Esau and Jacob. All right. So, but that bull, because Isaac is an old man by now. So right here, you see how much time has elapsed. So Isaac,
you know what?
is in his
I can
old
see
age.
why the camps hate. You know what? I can see why the camps hate Enoch. You know, I mean, because you could just be like a black wild boar. You know, think about, oh man, he's supposed to be you know, red and white. You know, like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Man.
You know, they
Man.
probably hate the book of Enoch, man.
Mm-mm.
It like destroys so much false doctrine.
They would take it so literally. Oh, he was a black and hairy and white. Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff, man. It says, but that bull which was born from him begot a black wild boar and a white sheep, Esau and Jacob. And that wild boar begat many boars, and that sheep begat 12 sheep. We already know what that 12 sheep is. It's amazing when it gets down to us. You know how the animals get weaker. I'm not saying like weak, like as in, you know, you can't do anything, but I'm just saying that they get less stronger. All right. It starts off with a horn, with a ram, and then it starts going down, you know. Man, it's crazy. And then when it gets to us, it gets a sheep. It's like because we are sheep, because we're like sheep led to the slaughter.
Yeah.
It says,
and then you get one ram might rise up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or something like that, you know.
And when those 12 sheep had grown, they gave up one of them to the asses. All right. And that's the Ishmaelites. And these asses again gave up the sheep to the wolves. Yep, to the Joseph. And the sheep grew up among the wolves, and that was Joseph. All right. So here in verse 13, and you know, we know the stories very well. I'll read that again. It says, and when those 12 sheep had grown up, those were all the 12 tribes of Israel, you know, including Joseph. They gave up one of them, to the asses. The asses are the Ishmaelites, and the one they gave to the asses was Joseph, because you know they put him. You know the story. They put him in the pit.
Matter of fact, you can go to Genesis 37:28, right? And that's hold up, just
bring it out. Yeah, go ahead, bring it out.
Yeah,
bring that scripture up right quick.
Hold on.
We can read that.
All right, so right here we see, you know, exactly what's going on. Let's look it. It says, then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites, right, for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt, which are the wolves. All right. Put you back on the screen. Salaki.
So that right there, you know, and then verse 13. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, that's mine. I gotta remove on there. Too many buttons. All right. There we go.
All right. And then verse 13, and then Brother Aton's going to take it over.
Oh,
all right.
Verse 15?
I'm sorry. Yeah. No.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And it says, and when those 12 sheep had grown, they gave up one of them to the asses. And these asses again gave up that sheep to the wolves. And that sheep grew up among the wolves. And the Lord brought the 11 sheep to live with it and to pasture it among the wolves. And they multiplied and became many flocks in the sheep. Now that's when, man, that's a big time jump, because that's when now all these years have passed. And this is when, the famine has happened. This is after the famine, all that stuff. During the famine, actually, when Joseph's brothers come up, and that's how everything starts to kind of get revealed and everything. And then, Joseph finally calls his family up to live with him, and Jacob learns the truth about his father. All right.
God.
Verse 15, and the wolves began to fear them, and they oppressed them till they destroyed their the sheep's young, and they cast their young into. Hey, while I'm reading that, can you bring up? You can bring up either in, it doesn't matter, Jubilees, Jasher, or Genesis, where the king of Pharaoh, he started to fear them, and he wanted to, he's like, hey, they're growing, they're beginning to multiply. Let's make them slaves. Can you bring up that one right quick? I'm gonna finish reading this one. It says, and the wolves began to fear them. The wolves talking about the Egyptians. And the wolves began to fear them, and they oppressed them till they destroyed the sheep's young, and they cast their young into a river of much water. But those sheep began to cry loud on account of their young, and to complain unto their Lord. So the Egyptians were abusing, man. They were abusing the hell out of these sheep, man. They were children of Israel. Man, that sounds like what they doing now. Just abusing us, man, to no account.
I think. All right, hold on. Let me pull it out. What did you want to bring up?
It was the one about the pharaohs being afraid of them, and then making them slaves and everything.
All right, hold on.
I know they know the story, but I just wanted to show it up.
All right, let me pull it up there. What's one thing? All right.
I'm going to read that again when it says, and the wolves, verse 15, it says, and the wolves began to fear them, and they oppressed them till they destroyed their sheep's young, and they cast their young into a river of much water. But those sheep began to cry loud on account of their young, and to complain unto their Lord. All right.
All right. Oh man, this first one that came to mind. I just brought the first one that came to mind, the one in Exodus, right? So it says, Joseph died, all his brethren and all that generation, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty.
That's a good one.
And the land was filled with them. And now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when they are falleth out with any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. So let's get them up out the land. Right.
So that's when you go back to. I appreciate that, brother.
God, no problem. I'll put you back on the screen.
Put that.
Oh, you want the other one back on? Hold up.
Yeah, Enoch.
Yeah. I gotta do all kinds of stuff to. All right, here we go. We back.
All right. So that's the whole gist of it right there. So these wolves, when our people were scattered, they were, because Joseph, he did a mighty work, and the first king, favored him and granted him. He was the governor of all of Egypt. But generations passed, kings came and went, and then next thing you know, them boys, the Egyptians was like, man, forget this, man. We got to enslave these jokers, man, because they feared them. So that's what happened. Right. So that's where we're at right now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brother Aton.
Okay. I'm going to read the last 15. We didn't go through it quick. Brother Daniels pretty much broke down everything that's, that needed to be broken down. So we're just going to go through this last little bit here. All right. We're going to start at verse 15. And it says, and the wolves began to fear them and to oppress them till they destroyed their sheep's young, and they cast their young into a river of much water. Right. So now, if you remember the account that what was going on then, right? What did Pharaoh start to do? Right. Now, if we want to go back to Exodus 1, right? You know what I'm saying? We'll see that then. Okay, hold up. Matter of fact, we'll just do that while we're on it because I already got it up. All right. So it says, let me see. Hold up, Salaki. Well, the midwives feared. Okay, so it says, so this is basically what is going on, right? So let's just start at we'll start at 13, right? And Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, right? Which is mean hard bondage. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar and brick and all manner of service in the field, and all service wherein they were made to serve was with rigor. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Seraphirah, and said to the other Phua, he said, when ye do this office of the midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon stools, if it be a son, ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then it shall live. Right? But the midwives feared God and did not as the king commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king called for the midwives and said that, why have you done this thing and left the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, but they are lively and are delivered and delivered ere the midwives come unto them. And we know that our sisters today, they are lively, if not anything else. Right? And it says, and it says, therefore God dwelt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very greatly and very mightily. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And the Pharaoh charged all his people, saying that every son that is born ye shall cast into a river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. Right, now let's go back to where we were at in Enoch. Also on my thing too, it's acting up. So we see that when the where we at? We're 15, right? We're 15. And the young into the river of much water, right? But those sheep began to cry aloud on the account of their young, and to complain unto the Lord, right? Because they're going through hard bondage. And the sheep, which the Israelites, which had been saved from the wolves, which are the Egyptians, fled and escaped to the wild asses, right? To the land of Ishmael and all that other stuff, right? And it saw that the sheep how lamented and cried and besought the Lord with all their might, to the Lord of the sheep descended at the voice of the sheep from the lofty abode, and he came to them and pastured with them, right? The Lord began to shepherd over our people, right? And he called that sheep which had escaped from the wolves, right? Because remember, Moses had escaped among the Ishmaelites, right? And that sheep, which is Moses, which had escaped from the Egyptians, because what happened? He had slew that one Egyptian that he saw that was beating his brothers, right? And he hit him, and then, you know, some folks like, well, you know, it's going to be known that you done did it. So he ran for his life, and it spake with it concerning the wolves, right? So Hamashiach, right? He spake with Moses concerning the wolves, that it should admonish them not to touch the sheep. So, right, during this time, right, we know the whole story of Moses in the burning bush, right? And the Most High, the Most High sent Hamashiach down, to deal with Moses, right? And the sheep went to the wolves according to the word of the Lord, and another sheep went with it, right? So who's the other sheep? Aaron, right? So this is Moses and Aaron, right? They're going to the wolves, which is Pharaoh, with the word of the Lord, saying, hey, man, it's time for you to let my people go, right? You need to stop harassing my people, let my people go. And the sheep went to the wolves according to the word of the Lord, and another sheep met it and went with it. That's Aaron. And the two went and entered together into the assembly of the wolves, and spake with them and admonished them not to touch the sheep from henceforth. Thereupon I saw the wolves, and how they oppressed the sheep exceedingly with all their power. And the sheep cried aloud, right? The sheep is Israel. And their Lord came to the sheep and began to smite those wolves. The 10 plagues, right? I know you guys, I'm just breaking this down real quick. Well, not real quickly, but, simply for you guys, because, we've all heard these stories 1,000 times, right? 1,000 times. I shouldn't have to show you exactly where these are in the scriptures, because all you have to do is just the whole book of Exodus. All right, this is basically the whole book of Exodus that we're going over, right? And it says, thereupon I saw the wolves, and how they oppressed the sheep exceedingly with all their power, and the sheep cried aloud, right? Israel began to cry back aloud to the Most High. And their Lord came to the sheep and began to smite those wolves, right? Hit them upside the head with the 10 plagues. Then the wolves began to make lamentation, right? The Egyptians started to cry because of what happened, right? The final was the firstborn all got killed, right? The Most High was like, man, I don't care about y'all. I'm gonna kill every firstborn of everything, animals.
Hey, I want to add something there right quick.
Go ahead.
I want to add something there right quick. What you were saying about crying out. If y'all notice, see, that's a cut to what we're living in right now. So this is how you know that we're not crying out as a people, because we're not being oppressed like that. Now think about it. Why are they crying out? Because they're getting beat. They're getting whipped. They're getting beat. They got to make all these bricks without, all this mortar and stuff, and they crying out, man, losing their firstborns. Think about it.
Right.
What are we going through right now that's making us cry? We're not getting beat in the back with whips. We're not having to go out and labor intensely for free. So how can we cry out? We're not crying out. I keep hearing our people say, "Oh, we're gonna cry. We're crying out." We're not crying out. You got to put in that work to cry out. You're going to have to. Maybe it's going to happen during the mark of the beast. I don't know, but something's going to have to happen where it's going to force us to cry out intensely. So I just wanted to bring that out, because right here is a just pure cut to that we're not crying out, because you look at what they're going through, and they're sitting there crying out, man. They're crying their hearts out because they actually getting beat. Go ahead out.
And I saw the sheep, right, which is Israel, till they departed from amongst the wolves, right? Because finally, right after the final, the firstborn, we got to leave after the Most High killed all their firstborn. And I saw the sheep till they departed from amongst the wolves, right? Us getting out of there, out of Egypt. But the eyes of the wolves were blinded. Right? Hey, bring that. Hey, you wanted to say something about that? The eyes of the wolves were blinded, because the eyes of the wolves were blinded, and those wolves departed in pursuit of the sheep with all their power. Right? And you can see how the Most High had, just like he had made Pharaoh's heart hardened.
That's right. Yep.
You know what I mean? He decided to, blind those wolves, blind the Egyptians to chase them, even after they had let them go out of their land with great substance.
If you read in Exodus, it says that the Most High, the God had hardened Pharaoh's heart. He did it on purpose. He hardened his heart because it was in his plan, Most High's plan, to destroy Pharaoh. So, there wouldn't be no complaint, no reason why Pharaoh could not be destroyed. And this is why he kept, he felt like he would let the Israelites go at first. And then all of a sudden, now after they're freed, he wants to go after them, get his whole host of army and everything. But that's the Most High hardening his heart, blinding the eyes of the wolves.
All right. Verse 22. And the Lord of the sheep went with them, right, as their leader, right? And who is this? This is Hamashiach, right? And all his sheep followed him. His face was dazzling and glorious and terrible to behold. But the wolves began to pursue those sheep till they found them by a sea of water, right? And what is this? The Red Sea, right? We all know the story. Moses, with the power of the Lord, split the Red Sea, right? And this sea was divided, and the water stood on this side and on that before their face. And their Lord, who led them, placed himself between them and the wolves, right? Which is, this is a little more detailed, because in the regular story, you don't understand that as Israel had passed through the splitting of the waters, and we was running or making our way from Egypt with the Red Sea split, that after everyone has gone, all the little ones, all the old children and everything, that the Lord was at the end of the Lord was the one that was bringing up the rear, right? Moses with the staff at the front, and the Lord was bringing up the rear. And it said in 25, and as those wolves did not yet see the sheep, they proceeded into the midst of that sea. I mean, they had to be super blinded, because there's no way in. Are you crazy? I am not doing that. You know what I mean? And I know how water works, and I see water standing up on one side. I'm just not trying it, man. That's just insane. And the wolves pursued the sheep, and those wolves ran after them into that sea like dummies. And when they saw the Lord of the sheep, they turned to flee before his face. So the Lord had met them there as they were trying to chase down the Israelites. But that sea gathered itself together and resumed its own nature suddenly. And the water swelled and it rose till it covered those wolves. So just like the story says, right? The water came back together and it swallowed all the Egyptians, all the armies, all the chariots, right? And even today, right, we know we have things that you can see that actually prove this right now, right? They have found chariots on the bottom of the Red Sea. Full armors of men, skeletons. The Most High is real. Hamashiach's real.
That's right.
Verse 28. But the sheep escaped from the water and went forth into a wilderness where there was no water and no grass. And they began to open their eyes to see. And I saw the Lord of the sheep pasturing them and giving them water and grass, and that sheep going and leading them. Right? And that sheep ascended to the summit of the lofty rock. Who's this, right? Moses. He ascended up to the lofty rock, and the Lord of the sheep sent it to them. And after that, I saw the Lord of the sheep standing before them, and his appearance was great. Oh, yeah. And terrible and majestic. And all those sheep saw him and were afraid before his face. Now, if you remember, in the scriptures, they was telling Moses to deal with the Lord because he was too, majestic and they feared to face the Lord. Right. So we're going to stop it right there, Israel. Well, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. But this chapter right here is pretty long. It's like 70 something verses.
It already, it is, because we got to break it out. We already went all the way from the, we started in this part, this part right here. Just kind of recap. We did for the last two lessons. We started off last week from the very beginning of creation to the falling of the angels all the way to the Nephilims, and then we picked up again back from the Nephilims today, and then carried it all the way to the coming out of Egypt. All right, it gets deeper because we're going to go into, it's going to get into our generation and what's going to become, and all the way to the coming of the Hamashiach. It gets deep,
right?
It's prophecy of.
Remember from everything that that we said so far that way you get the breakdown on, and that way you get to understand where evil spirits come from, right? Where certain things originated from, how this got here, or what happened in there. I mean, like the scriptures are so clear and concise, right? When you truly understand the history, that it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
All right, let me take this off right quick. All right, what chapter in Enoch is that? We are in 89.
Yep, and we're gonna be in 89 for a minute.
We're gonna be in 89 for a good minute up.
Yep. So we started off with 80, 85, 86 last week, and then we did 87, 88, and then part of a little bit of 89. So we're gonna continue with it. We want you to just go back and just rewatch the first, rewatch the first part so you can really get that. The more you watch it and go over it and you build those precepts up, you can go back and just study it, and then you can also read more details into account to what we read too, because there's a lot of stuff that we could have read but didn't really go into for the sake of it's just so long, But I guarantee you, when we start breaking down the book of Jasher, because we're going to go through the whole book. I'm telling you, there's just a lot of details in there that I wanted to cover today, like when Abraham was growing up. But that's like 3 chapters in itself, that would have been like an extra couple of hours right there. So, because that leads to a lot of other stuff too. So, but all that kind of just this whole prophecy that was given to Enoch ties into that, and it tracks all the righteous people who will come out of the line, from Adam to Shem, and then from Shem, to Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to 12 tribes, and our seed scattered, where the continual sheep that are constantly born and being oppressed right now, not necessarily oppressed like our forefathers, but it's going to end up getting there. Especially if we go into another captivity, which that's going to be devastating.
Man, you remember to be able to be a ruler in Egypt, you had to know the 70 languages and speak them all fluently, and how the Most High had sent an angel to teach Joseph all the 70 languages in one night, so he can approach the king, the Pharaoh on the throne. Man, I'm telling you, man, we have man, we come from great progeny.
Mm.
Right, and then you look around and you're like, man, how are these people? Man, we are just squandering it.
Man, right, that's an understatement.
God. You know, Joseph could speak 70 languages taught by an angel in one night. Come on, man. Oh, man.
That's wild.
God. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, don't worry, Pops. We already got rid of the wicked. We don't.
Oh, I didn't even see that one. I'm glad you removed it. Okay, you must have removed it before I saw it.
Man. Any other questions, Israel? As always, man, we appreciate each and every one of you brothers and sisters who decide to join every week.
All praise to the Most High.
Keep a few moments with the other Shabbat with us. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Time of fellowship.
That's right. Man, it's beautiful out here, man. Sun blazing out here, though.
All right. Well, let's just pray to the Most High that thank God that we're born during this particular time, and that we're able to, the ones that are able to take heed to keeping the commandments, and we're doing so, man. That's good. Without the
me and brother Aton was just talking about this yesterday. How religion, man, especially Christianity, man, has really taken a toll of our people. And it reminds me what it says in Deuteronomy 4:27-28, that we will be few amongst the nations and we'll be scattered amongst the Gentiles, and worshiping wood and stone to gods that cannot speak, hear, or smell. And our people are just embedded in all different religions, and it's hard to reach our people because when you try to tell them the truth, their concept is God is love, right? God loves everybody. And in their minds, they're thinking that everybody, all the nations, even the wicked ones that's oppressing us. And this is why our people are so brainwashed, man. It's like Stockholm syndrome. What is the meaning of Stockholm syndrome? That's when you've become to the point where you become to love your oppressors, no matter how much they beat you. You love your oppressors no matter what. You can't see doing evil to them. And that's how bad our people have been abused. And that's what they call Stockholm syndrome. It's a dangerous drug.
One thing I wanted to, in First John, see, this is the thing, right? You get what, like brother says, like this Christianity doctrine is just they believe that by the grace of God, you're going to be saved, right? But without truly understanding that the grace of God is your life. If you die in that sin, you will be destroyed, right? You can't be out here, just, doing whatever you're saying and then believing that, God is the God of love, because people don't understand that love is keeping the commandments, right?
That's right.
That's what love is, right? It says, by this we know that we love the children of God when we love God and keep his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments is not grievous. Like the love of God has nothing to do with some lovey-dovey feeling. I want to hug you, or no, right? That kind of affection doesn't come into play. Right, you don't get the love of God until you obey. I don't understand why people don't understand that.
The Most High, like a lot of these churches, if you look in a lot of these churches, what do you have? You got these praise dancers, you got the band, music, you got all this crazy stuff. The Most High is not into all that emotional stuff. He's not into body movements and hand gestures and huffing and puffing. The Most High is not into that stuff. The only thing the Most High care about is if you keeping these commandments, laws, statutes, and commandments.
You being a good son.
You don't got to be in no church building to do that.
Facts.
The scripture says, worship the Father in truth and in spirit. These churches have become a business. That's the problem. And that's what I have a problem with. I have a problem with all these pastors. Anybody who calls them a pastor is not teaching the truth. that's not living by their people and collecting money, they're not pastors. They're thieves. They're swindlers. Pulpit pimps. That's all they are. And these churches have all they are is a business to swindle people. And what they do is they sell you. Because think about it. At the end of the day, who benefits from profiting off this? Not the people. At the end of the day, the people who attend those churches, they pay for the pastor's mortgage, they pay for his rent, they pay for his car notes, they pay to keep his kids in private schools, and maybe a few of his elders who are on the payroll. That's it. But the people don't benefit from nothing. But yet you got a man on the pulpit telling you, another man, that they how to worship God when they can get that same thing for themselves.
The scriptures say in Acts chapter 7, verse 48, howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands,
That's right.
as saith the prophet, right? This is Brother Amos, right? And it says, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. What house will ye build me, saith the Lord, or what is the place of my rest? Right? And you sit there, you thinking that you're building a house of God? You remember any temples and things like that the Lord commanded our people to build? There was instructions sent down from the Lord of make this type of gopher wood and this type of this metal, and it has to be bound this many lengths here and this there. That has not happened.
Mm-hmm.
You got people running up in these churches, right? Donate money. God is not there.
I'm gonna tell you what that became. That became a tradition. That's all it is. It became a tradition. You're not going to find nowhere in the scriptures. The temple that the Hamashiach went into was like a modern day library because it said they went there to read. They didn't take up no offerings. It was just there. It was like a library on steroids. It was where we kept our ancient books at. That's where they get library from. It was from the temple. But yet these people today, they threw a church in front of you during slavery, and you buck dancing and praising and singing, and that's how it started. And then all of a sudden now, Black people, have followed the ways of the heathen and made a profit out of it. You cannot be blessed in a church. You can't, because it is totally against the Most High. Just like the brother just read here at Acts 7:48 says, howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, and said the prophet. Man, these people, these churches are a multi. If you were to add up all that's including all the white churches and black churches, all different faith groups. If you add up all these churches, the money they bringing in, these churches are a multi-trillion-dollar company a year. And guess who's giving them the money? It's the people. While Pastor Pork Chop is sitting there fattening up in his pockets, and you coming in there talking about you praying for a holy blessing, give your tithes and offerings. The more you give, the more you blessed. Now there's a new saying now that giving is worship. Where's that in the scriptures? Yeah, they come up with all kinds of ways, man, to trick people. But yet our people continue to follow those ways, and they continue to get sucked in because they only gratify what they can see and feel. And that's the problem. Everything is about feeling these days, feelings.
I mean, like, really look at the scripture, right? You should, Islam, all of these places that have you worshiping in some kind of temple or something like that, some kind of, church gathering, got you someplace there every Sunday and stuff like this. Man, the church is the people.
That's right.
Right, just like Brother Daniel was saying earlier, man, the Most High is not about emotions. He about you keeping the commandments. Think about it. Right, the Most High got so sick of them, those jokers, right? That he rescued, that he performed 10 plagues. Right, he did all of this great works for the folks. Right, introduced those folks to the Passover, all of these holy things, and you know what the Most High said? He said, they're not. I'm gonna kill all of them. They're not making it in, except for Aaron, one. I'm from that generation. That's why they was in the desert for 40 years, because the Most High made a promise that he said they're not making. I'm gonna kill every single one of them, and I'm gonna wait till all the other generation grow up, and I'm gonna bring the second generation in there. And they tell you that the Most High is a God of love. Love is keeping the commandments. If you don't keep the commandments, that makes you an enemy of God. And once you become an enemy, hey, it's open war. This is not some average, Humpty Dumpty, slow, so some slow dude that you think you can just play with. This the Most High. Man, he opened up the ground, swallow up folks, send fire and brimstone from heaven. He talking about a bitch that you got to go to, talking about hell, right? Some place where you just, it's just unbearable, for the time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, what's going on here? All these terrible things that can happen to you and that you read about, you see all kind of examples of this stuff happen. Man, old girl looked back and the Most High told her not to. She got turned to a pillar of salt. Like, you can't try the Most High. Like, there are no second chances. He tell you to do something. Hey, it's amazing right now, grace, right? This is something that the earth has never heard of, right? And I mean, like, it's amazing that we have grace. Because back in the day, man, we would have been destroyed. Immediately. No, no way you get in the kingdom, no nothing. Because think about all the folks that died before they did something under death. They didn't have grace. They're not getting the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? They're not getting the kingdom. There's a wrap.
Hey, when they came out of Egypt the first time, and people were getting stoned left and right. That was harsh, man. But I mean, you really think about it, man. It was like,
yeah. Oh, he's a God of love.
Yeah.
Hey, Moses went and asked the Lord what to do with this man that broke the Sabbath. That commandment came from Hamashiach. Hey, man, stone this nigga to death, man. That's a terrible death. And they playing around with the Lord. I don't understand. I don't understand. Man, people need to get it together. I'm sorry. It's so it's so terrifying that it's funny. That's why we're laughing, because I don't even know how to cope with the true magnitude of it, but just laugh deliriously. Then it says a wave compared to a drop. The next world this world was built for many, and the next world is going to be for few. I mean, like, all of these prophecies, man. Hey, it's hard to make the next world. You got to make the cut, right? How many of us are really truly out there trying to make the cut? And right, when you're trying out for a team, hey, man, you can't be average.
That's true.
Don't be like Judas. We got a bunch of people that are just like Judas.
That joker, man, that joker hung himself, boy.
Yeah, that's the time was.
He didn't wait for the angels to do it, man. He just went and did it, boy.
Yeah, I mean, like, how could you live with yourself after you done, turned over to Hamashiach to get put to death? And you know that he's the one that made the earth and all that stuff. He's living among you. That's had to be the scariest. I mean, like, how could you live with that? He was probably getting tortured by the angels. They were probably coming upside, doing all. I mean, ain't no telling what was going on. I don't think they'll just let that slide like that. All right, Israel, we got any other questions? If not, I'm gonna turn it over to Brother Daniel. He'll close us out because we almost up on 3 hours.
All right, well, you realize that. All right, Yasharel. Well, hey, I pray that you all are edified. Pray that you really got something out of this and was able to follow along, as we dig through the scriptures. But these scriptures teach us a lot. They show us the examples of our forefathers, and they show us an example of the way we should live. And I'm telling you, man, I mean, that's encouraging, because Enoch's life is a Methuselah, all the righteous brothers that lived before us. Those are the ones we need to model off of and take lesson and take note on, because it still applies to these days that we're living in. So, let's make it easy on ourselves. Practice these righteous acts. And that's all I have. So with that being said, we waited a while to see if anybody had any questions. Looks like everybody's on the same page. So with that being said, we're going to bid you a hearty Shabbat Shalom.
Stay strong, Israel. Stay strong.
Sir, all praise to the Most High.